Another way to look at genre, and we'll continue using the crime genre to analyze this, is to look at themes. As we've seen, there are some structural themes that we've looked at, like reason versus passion, innocence versus experience, and body versus soul. And there are some more specific themes within this. So we can have social criticism, for example. Social criticism features in any movie where the story and the way the story is presented points the finger at some weakness in our society. So the movie causes us or attempts to have us reflect on the weak point in society, and often in an ironic way. So I mentioned Find Me Guilty. This exemplifies this thematic trait very, very well. And the movie uses the trial of a gangster to detail the inadequacies of the legal system, and therefore the shortcomings of a society that supports and sanctions such a legal system. Another theme might be gangsters on the run from the law, or on the run from other gangsters. So the Michael Mann film Public Enemies, which stars Johnny Depp, is just this kind of story. John Dillinger was constantly on the run throughout the entire film, and one of the themes we encounter is the social criticism of the police. The movie asks us many times to question whether or not the police are truly just, or just as criminal as the gangsters themselves. We also get action and adventure as a structural theme. So this is not as common in gangster movies today as it used to be, but in the 1930s, there was a lot of gangster movies that devoted themselves almost entirely to bank heists, to car chases, and these movies didn't focus that much on character. They relied instead on stereotypes in order to get straight into the action scenes. We also have doubles, and by doubles I mean that some gangster movies are primarily about one gang versus another gang, and often the gangs are divided along ethnic lines. So if you ever have a chance to see Blood In, Blood Out, you'll see that the gang war is not only about who is in control of drug trafficking, but it's also about which race is superior, the Mexicans or the African Americans. And the function of the doubling is to highlight similarities just as much as it is about highlighting their differences. And one of the sub-themes that we can find in movies involving these gang wars involves focus both on the brutality, but also the charisma of crime, as well as the danger that the gangs pose to innocent people. So if you ever see Scorsese's Gangs of New York, this is a prime example of all these issues coming together. We also get character study. This is a kind of movie that provides portraits of individual gangsters. So Scarface is such a film. It's a character study that, you know, can include an entire family. In Scarface, it's a very limited family, but then you have Godfather, which has a very large family, or perhaps The Sopranos, which is even larger because it spans a series. Now, many more themes exist, and I'd love to hear you discuss them in the Facebook group. The important thing about these themes that you will discover as you explore the gangster genre and the crime genre is that each of them has their own emotional effect. Each theme creates different states of tension in the viewer, and therefore offer the audience different kinds of pleasure. So, for example, the pleasures that are created by spending an hour inside the head of a major drug boss is different than following the adventures of several gang members struggling to get along in a broader struggle for survival on the streets. So take a moment to reflect on what kinds of pleasure you feel when you're watching these different kinds of gangster films, and post your thoughts in our Facebook group, and let's get a conversation started about the kinds of pleasures that these films create, and explore what draws you to these different emotions, be they fantasy of engaging in crime yourself and hopefully not acting on it, or fantasies of being able to enact revenge, or fantasies of being rich without having to obey the laws of society, even though you know that your punishment is coming. So I look forward to you introducing yourself and posting in the group and hearing all of your thoughts about these themes of the gangster genre.